You, sir, what day is it? Why, it's the start of GarbAugust 2.5, the wasted weekend. Perfect. I don't know why I was going for like, what was I gonna go there? Like, I was visited by the three ghosts of literature? I don't know. It's early. Well, it's not. I did actually sleep in a little bit until somebody started to attack me. Somebody started to attack me because he's an evil man. So, yeah, it's the start of the wasted weekend. And you might be like, Andrew, I actually really doubt you like this, but I was internally like this. Why are you going Friday to Sunday when technically it is a long weekend where you're at? So you could go Saturday to Monday because Monday is technically a holiday where I'm at. And I'm like, whatever. I like to do things a little differently. So I just got excited and I want to do it Friday to Sunday. So we will see. I'm probably going to get myself a nice big breakfast of something that's not great, but it's GarbAugust weekend, so might as well. And then listen to some trashy audiobooks. Let us begin. Just finished Wasteland Warlords #1. And that was just a really quick little audiobook that I had included in my Audible subscription. And it's like a series of books. And oh my goodness, it was such a fun little surprise. Like, it pretty much delivered exactly what you'd think when you saw the cover. Yes, there is a cyborg raccoon with a hedge trimmer, and there's a man in jorts with a chainsaw, but it's a little bit different than what I thought, because like when you look at the cover, you think of it as like a kind of like a silly post-apocalypse novel, and it kind of is but kind of isn't. The main idea is that like part of America has been like merged with like a fantasy universe ish, like there was like a portal or something and a bunch of like fantasy creatures like came across, and basically the US government has like cordoned off like big portions of the country, and people, if they want to, can go out and like live in a kind of a fantasy universe that's kind of crossed over with our universe. So it's like kind of like a fantasy post-apocalypse, because like everything is kind of like ruined and everything like that, but it all has this fantasy overlay of like these like goblins living around and like driving motorcycles with flamethrowers, and like it seems like to be a little bit more than just a fantasy universe. Like it seems like perhaps it was like some type of like video game-ish universe coming across, because like they have things like where they can kind of like see stats and stuff like that on certain items like you would get in a video game or like in tabletop like RPG type of thing. And you'd think like it kind of get it would that idea would get old, but it's really executed well, and like there is a main character who's like very silly, has a lot of references to him, but he's never overbearing, which is like very hard to do with a character like that who's like this drunk redneck guy who's like, oh yeah, let's do it, I got myself a raccoon with the chainsaw hands, let us do this thing. But he's kind of like centered because he's like part of this trio, and his brother and his wife have agreed to this life after like they lost their home and they lost all of their belongings because they were trying to fight his wife. Alex has cancer, and they've been trying to like combat that, and they're basically left destitute after all that, so they have no other options. They decide like maybe they can find something in this fantasy-ish universe to help them out, because there's this idea that like if you go to a dungeon and you like defeat a warlord, you can like gain power to like cure yourself or something like that. So like there is like a really interesting like emotional core to it that really kind of balances out the more silly aspects in a way that just makes it a really fun read. The action was good, the world was very interesting, and it was super super quick. I'm definitely going to listen to more of them in the future. Now let's go on to the next one. While I was in the middle of listening and enjoying what I was listening to, I started on a project I started taking all of the pieces and cutting out the pieces for the dragon, the bone dragon from the Warhammer Old World set. So I'm gonna follow the instructions and put them together while listening to the next little audiobook. So that is a fun little thing that I'm doing while we're doing this. Just finished Night of the Mannequin, and I am currently on Katrina sprints right now. We are having a wonderfully unhinged time. I'm just gonna pour myself a little glass of wine before I come back from that sprint. So Night of the Mannequin was not what I thought it was, but it was really good. So Night of the Mannequin, Stephen Graham Jones novella, and I had thought that it was a campy, silly story about giant mannequins or just mannequins in general murdering people. The story is not that. It's a bit different. But what it is a really good slasher-ish story. And I think I don't really want to talk about it too much because it's a novella. And one of the things about novellas is like the less you know going in is almost always the best for overall enjoyment of a piece, just because they're so short. So, like, if the story is a little bit different than it appears, other than knowing that, I don't want to talk too much more about it. Really good characters, and really, really captures anxiety really well. And I just thought it was really quite excellent. Because I'm doing sprints, I didn't get a chance to put together the dragon. I'll probably do that tomorrow. I had to do some running around, so I'm a bit behind, but I'm hoping to get to some comic books tonight, so then I can get back on track for the numbers game. Tomorrow I have to do some stuff for Blueberry. I have to go back to the vet and get his tail stitches removed. So I will be a bit... I won't until Sunday. I don't think I'll have a full day of just reading because I'll have other stuff I'm doing. So I don't know if I'm going to get to as much as I got to last year, but I'm also just really enjoying what I'm listening to. So tune in and we'll see how the night goes. So I just finished Archie versus Sharknado. That was suitably ridiculous. And they give Archie a whole bunch of lines from Ash from Army of Darkness because he wields a chainsaw so much. Because, of course, I've never liked Sharknado as a property, but I love Archie. And as such, I actually really had a good time with this. Like, this gave the best parts about Archie and the best parts about a redonkulous idea like Sharknado. And there was even a point where someone talks to Josie, from one of the characters from Josie and the Pussycats, and be like, wow, you look a lot like that girl from Sharknado, because Tara Reid played one of the Josie and the Pussycats from that amazing 90s movie, aptly named Josie and the Pussycats. So that was a fun little reference. And I always love the artwork. This is all by Dan Parent, who I believe I've met at a convention before, and he always writes the best and draws the best redonkulous Archie artwork. So this was like suitably gory and amazingly stupid, and I had a great time with it. So on to the next one. It's everybody's favorite vlog trope, talking to a lamp. So I just finished the Pumpkinhead comic book series. I read I have the single issues, so I read all 5 of them, which counts as the one full graphic novel, whatevs. And it's been a while since I read it. I read it when it came out. I think it came out in like 2018. And I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember the entire plot of it. So revisiting it was quite fun. The artwork was great. The story was pretty damn fun, and I had a really good time with it. I liked it. There's like certain things that kind of get set up and kind of get resolved pretty quickly because it's like a 5-issue comic book series. Like I feel like perhaps Cullen Bunn could have made it maybe like a 7-part series where like certain things kind of get explored a little bit more. But even that being said, like I still think it's like a really good story that is like really kind of expands on like the Pumpkinhead mythos. And Pumpkinhead is kind of always been a great creature, and has like a great design, and I think has a great story behind the creature. So using that to expand upon it with the other deadly sins, because the idea is like Pumpkinhead is going after someone doing what Pumpkinhead does, taking vengeance. And he is going after somebody who has another witch in their corner, and they summon the five other uh, of the seven deadly sins. Like there's another deadly sin that gets dealt with in an extra story in each comic books, but that's neither here nor there. It's like a bonus story. But there's like the five other deadly sins are like fighting against Pumpkinhead, who is like the sin of vengeance, and it's just really cool idea, and all the designs on all of the creatures are awesome, and yeah, I just had a great time. Really fun comic book, and then I just ended the night by reading Dracula, motherfucker, and it was fucking awesome. Like this is really cool. Like the artwork in this comic is awesome. Like Erica Henderson is just doing some awesome looking like artwork in this book, and it is so cool. And it is basically like kind of like a feminist retelling of Dracula, where it's the brides of Dracula taking their vengeance upon him in the 70s. It's like they like someone had like staked Dracula. He gets unstaked in the 70s, and he's going around doing Dracula shenanigans, and the brides come and take their vengeance. And it's just awesome. It's really cool. It's like a pretty quick book. It doesn't have a lot to it in terms of like lengthwise, but the artwork is just awesome. And I actually really like the art, the both the artist and the author of this, Alex DeCampi, who has done a lot of awesome comic books. So not a surprise that this comic book rocks. I don't even know if I would call it like GarbAugust worthy, because it was just kind of like a great comic book. So regardless, I had a great time with it, and I do kind of think like it's kind of like a tie-in to like Dracula and doing like a different take on it. So anyways, I had a wonderful time with Dracula, motherfucker. So I'm probably just gonna read a little bit of probably I'll do a little bit of the Kill Raven comic before going to bed, and I'll talk to you guys in the morning. Goodbye. I did start an audiobook this morning, but today I decided I'm going to read The Galaxy of Fear. And I'm only about 15 pages in. I'm really liking it, but I'm doing this update because I just got the great news that my GarbAugust short story got accepted for the Garbology collection. So yay! It's a trashy miracle. It's a GarbAugust miracle. So that's fun. Anyways, this is the Star Wars Goosebumps mock-off, and it's pretty great. I'm actually having a good time with it. It's actually got some kind of creepy scenes, and it's kind of interesting. So far, it's like this. It starts off where there's like this mad scientist doing some very unethical experiment, and he's like talking to Darth Vader, and like he's got like somebody on his medical board who's just like screaming, and you're like, whoa, that's kind of dark for a Star Wars story, even a Goosebumps ripoff. But now we're getting to the bulk of it, and it's like two kids who have been orphaned due to fucking Alderaan getting exploded. And you're like, damn. Also, they have to deal with all of their friends and family being dead, and they're living with their uncle, who is not a human, who's like this cool alien creature called the Shidu. Shia-Idu. I'm gonna look him up because I don't recognize the Star Wars name, so we'll see. But I got accepted in the short story. Thank you, thank you, Mercy, for holding my book. Sorry, that's dumb. This was actually a ton of fun. I really had a good time with this. It's just a little book, but the stakes were actually pretty real. Like it was a pretty there's like it's like a kid's book in the vein of Goosebumps, but like people actually die in this, and they don't like people die in like some pretty brutal ways. So it actually does deliver on the horror aspects of the story. I don't want to get too much into this because again, this is a short book, and if you do ever find this, I do think that the little twist and how it all plays out is well done enough that I don't really want to spoil it. But if you're a person who really likes YA Goosebumps type stories, Galaxy of Fear is pretty great. I had a really fun time with this. It's a cool idea, good fun little characters, and yes, some people from the movies that you know do appear. And it also has this amazing little holographic thing. If I ever find any more of these, I will definitely be picking them up because yeah, this was just quite nice. And of course, the kid saves the day by basically skateboarding. And we all know skateboarding is the only thing I think is cool. Ollie, Ollie. Not criminally, though. Getting ready to go to the vet. Boop, doo doo doo. Blueberry. Blueberry got a clean bill of health, and it didn't even cost me anything extra. So they just removed the sutures, and his tail is healing nicely. There's a little scab, but it will be able to be falling off on his own. So, yay. Blueberry is okay, which is a very nice change of pace for me doing vlogs where I take a creature to a vet. Didn't cost me anything, and he's doing well. So, dance time, Loomis. No, no dancing, but he's doing good, so that's important. So, two more books to add to the GarbAugust Wasted Weekend. A Martian Wouldn't Say That is a very fun and funny barrage of studio memos, and they're all very kind of ridiculous and silly, and it was a lot of fun. Some of them are interesting because, like, they kind of belie the points of like the studio system being afraid to tackle certain subjects, and like there are certain things where like there's some racist stuff in here, like where there's like a point where like the studio heads told a person that like, hey, this character, how will we know if this character is black? They do not sound black. And then the writer responds, I what do you mean? That's the point. And it's like, well, then how will they know? And it's like it's a TV show, so obviously they would see the man. So it's just there's like stuff like that where you're like you kind of get a glimpse into the studio system and some of the moments that like Hollywood was very reticent to tackle certain things that they should always be tackling. So that was kind of interesting. And then most of it was just like very funny, goofy little memo notes. But there were some things that kind of like made you think about how uh, earlier, a lot of people say the golden age of TV is like now, and that's a lot of that is because studios were not allowing people to tackle certain subjects on TV. So that was really interesting. I did try this out. I DNF'd it about like 20 pages in. It really was just a bunch of architects bitching about Toronto and the how people have been like taking away older stuff. And like it's not terrible, it's just boring. I don't really care about architecture, so especially not outdated architecture from the 70s. So was not that interesting. And then I did the Vampire Express. This is a choose your own adventure book. I love choose your own adventure books. This one was very fun. I played through it a few times, but I did also then go through the entire book. So I did actually read all the book because I went through a few times naturally, and then I kind of went through the book and seen to look at all the possible options. There's only a few of broken options where they send you to endings that don't make a lot of sense, and I think that's because you actually couldn't get to the specific thing without cheating. Because I'm pretty sure there's a few like in Choose Your Own Adventure books. There's probably like at least like 10 pages or so that like you legitimately cannot get to normally, and they're just there to like make the book a little bit longer. So I think that's what happened with a few of those. But for the most part, like when you're just playing as you're supposed to and doing this as you're meant to, you get a variety of interesting vampire related things. Now, there is some very dated and offensive bits here. I mean, you do have a an assistant with disabilities that is not very well talked about, and also there is a lot of use of the slur for Romani people. That's kind of typical in books about Romania from a certain period of time, but just something to be aware of. So now I'm going to go for a walk. I'm actually going to put these two guys in a little free library and then just listen to some audiobooks. Just finished the first book in the Murderbot series called All System Red. And yeah, that was a really, really fun story. It's kind of like a typical science fiction story where there is like an AI who is designed as like a weapon, or in this case, a security force, becomes self aware and is able to do things outside of their programming. And it's interesting because unlike a lot of sci-fi that have that kind of trope, it is not a I should not be a weapon. I want to protect all of humanity type response, because that's normally what those are. Like think like the Zeta Project, Short Circuit, all of that kind of stuff. Where the Iron Giant, that's what normally happens. But in this case, when the AI system becomes sentient, they are looking after this group of surveyors on this planet, and the robot just wants to watch TV shows and not talk to humans at all. So when the humans finally discover that the robot is sentient, they have all of this awkward conversations, and like the robot is just like, please do not talk to me. I don't want to talk to you, please. This is embarrassing. I do not want to look in your face and have human reactions. And it's so funny. And it is really interesting. And I like the little sci-fi universe that it sets up, because there's like this company that regulates all of surveying unknown planets, and they sell off like surveying packages to other companies so that they can go onto planets and take and take any minerals that they need, and also any research and that kind of stuff that they would normally do on a surveying planet. And this one, the main plot of this book is that there is a something's gone wrong, and there is one of the companies that are surveying a planet has gone rogue and is trying to take out other companies involved. And that overall plot is kind of thinly veiled in that, like, you don't really know much about the villains. There is like a little bit of a uh, talk about what they want and why they're doing it, but it's not that much of an important thing, because like even the resolution is like very like boom boom boom, everything's resolved, and it's not really dealt upon, and you don't really have any sense of the characters who are the antagonists. They're kind of just a way to tell the story that is they want to tell, that is just about this very awkward robot interacting with humans for the first time, and they just want to hang out and watch television all day, and it's very very fun and funny and silly, with some cool action bits. And yeah, I will definitely be listening to more. They're all on Audible Plus here in Canada, so I will probably be listening to more of these in the future, because yeah, I just had a good time with it. I've heard that I think it was Crystal from Fiber Arts. She said like after the fourth book, it gets a little old, which I could definitely see that happening. But just gradually here and there. I would never marathon the series, but it seems like a fun little diversion every once in a while, and it's like competently written and is very fun. So I had a good time with it. I'm just going to be listening to the Warhammer 40k audiobook of Shadow Sun for the rest of the night. I will definitely not be finishing that tonight. I'll be finishing that tomorrow, and I will get on to my final big old audiobook marathoning tomorrow. We'll see how I do. Toodaloo. Just finished Shadow Sun: The Patient Hunter, and that was awesome, and I loved it. I thought it was really fun and had a great time with it. So I'm on now to Barbarian Alien, which is the next in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. Very, very fun. Let's see how the smut goes as I build the smut dragon now. I had to buy glue. That's why this wasn't built a few while ago. And I have to have like the windows open because I don't know how much the glue fumes are going to be like. Whoa, I'm a real barbarian alien. I don't know. We'll see. Toodaloo. Just finished Barbarian Alien, and that was such a delight. I think I actually like that a little bit more than the first one because there's like not as much like people are not as in danger as they are in the first one because like the first one has like a very depressing start to the story where it's like all of these like women are in peril because they've been kidnapped by a bunch of like horrible aliens and like bad things happen to the ladies in that first book where like this one is like more pure romance and like there are conflict and stuff like that and there is some like trying to survive moments and like trying to survive a tough situation, but it's not as like the women are not as in horrible peril as they were in the first one. So it's just kind of a fun, silly, a smut book. Uh, and yeah, I had a good time with it. I'm nearing the end. I got to try to get like four more books done before the end of this. I don't know if I'm going to make it. It's like 7 p.m. I'm going to do the audiobook for Friday the 13th Part 3 novelization next. And then I'll probably try to end with a bunch of comics. I might go a little bit over into Monday just to get to 15. Don't tell anyone. Shush, 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 shush. But yeah, I was trying to make this dragon, and it actually not looking too bad because I had to like glue all these parts together, and like as you can kind of tell, I'm not good with glue. I'm kind of consistently losing too much glue, but I still think it's going to look good when it's finished. The only thing that is an issue is that this one here, um, it actually broke. Like it broke in two, and I glued it together, but I think I'm gonna put another load of glue on it before I go out and go for a little walk. So yeah, we'll see if I get any more done on this freaking good old dragon. But I will be listening to some more books, so a toodaloo. Okay, not only have I finished the novelization for Friday 13th Part 3, but I did finish putting together the dragon. Well, not entirely. There's like a dude who like hangs out on here. Like he's got like there is like some parts there, and it's like a little like chariot head space kind of thing. I hope once that goes on, it's not as noticeable because I kind of effed it up a little bit. Everything looks good from like this angle. That broken piece even reattached pretty nicely. But if you notice here, I kind of effed up, and this wing is meant to be like attached to that joint right there, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't. And I think it's because I put this piece on wrong or incorrectly. Because I think like slightly this one is on askew a little bit, and that's why. But I'm hoping that once I get the full chariot thing, you can just basically like have it where like if I ever take a photo of it, I'll take a photo from like this angle because you can't tell from this angle, and it's not a huge deal because like I can attach it there and blah blah blah. But everything else looks good. I mean, like, so I am not somebody who's skilled with glue. I think that's had I known I would have had to glue so much of this statue, I would have maybe been a little bit more hesitant towards even buying it. But I did. I think I did good with like even that because like I am terrible with glue and I definitely overglued certain aspects, but I think that once I paint it and like once I complete the little guy, it won't look too bad. The novelization for Friday the 13th Part 3 is remarkably similar to the movie. It really did just feel like you're reading the movie. There are little details here and there, but like they're very minor. Um, which isn't a bad thing, especially back in the 80s. Like, if you didn't have like a VHS or anything, like just or being able to go out and see it in the theater, like it would have been a useful tool to just sit back and just basically read the movie that you weren't able to see. But like as a novelization, it does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't do much that makes it more notable than just doing what it's supposed to do. Like the writing isn't bad. Like I think it's well written, and I think some of the more like subtle parts of the movie actually come through. I think the book really does write. Simon Hawke, who wrote it, wrote Shelley's character pretty well, and also I think it's Eva or Ava is the girl who like Shelley is like sweet on, and she's actually like a really nice person, and she just wants to be friends. Like she doesn't, and there's like this really, I think it's like a pretty good little extra bit of like talking about her internal monologue and how she sees the whole thing, and it's like a very like mature, like a person who isn't an idiot wrote about it, where it's just like, yeah, like why are men so unable to just be friends with women and not like pressure them into things? You can just be friends, and that's all she wanted from Shelley. She just wanted to be his friend, and he was kind of too in his head and too stupid to accept that. I mean, he might have. I mean, he was. I think everyone was like 19, 18, 19 in the movie, so maybe he might have grown out of his internal shitbaggery. But he gets killed by Jason, so you never know. But I think that's like a nice little character beat that you get in the movie, and that's like always how I read it in the movie. But it's nice to kind of have it directly stated. And yeah, I guess I'm gonna leave this dragon in here to dry overnight, the glue, and then probably tomorrow I'll come in and finish it. Yeah, so now on to the last three comics to make it 12. Wait, no, 15. Toodaloo. Okay, it is 12:30, so technically I did not finish the last comic before the end of the day, but whatevs. So first off, I read this very silly Punisher the movie special, which is adapting the Dolph Lundgren Punisher film, and that movie is not great, but it's like a fun, stupid action movie. And I actually think it adapts pretty well to a comic. The artwork was pretty good, and also like the fact that uh, it actually looks like the Punisher and not Dolph Lundgren makes it just seem like it's like a pretty average run of the mill '80s Punisher story, which are yes, pretty fun. So I had a good time with it, even though yes, it was not great. And then I read there was a Darth Maul comic book series, a 5 issue comic book series by Cullen Bunn. Actually, the second comic book series I've read by Cullen Bunn. He also did the Pumpkinhead comic that I read a few days ago, and that was really fun. It was basically like set before Star Wars Episode One: Phantom Menace, and Darth Maul was going at to kill a Padawan. He was like really answered to kill a Jedi, and then there was like this crime boss who captured a Padawan and was like trying to like auction it off to the highest bidder. So he got a bunch of bounty hunters together and just showed up and like go did a whole bunch of shenanigans to fight and kill a Padawan and a Jedi. So yeah, it was fun. It was pretty violent, which is not a big surprise, given both the character and the writer. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun. It was pretty cool and interesting. Again, it's kind of slight because pretty much everything you need to know about the character you see in the movie. So it's like you don't get any deeper insights into the character, but it's still a fun read. And then I just finished with a kind of a stinker, but oh well. Werewolf by Night Max, which is the 4 issue Max series. So in Marvel Comics has a Max line, or at least they did. I don't know if they still do. But it was where they published adult comics where all the horrible things happen and it's very gory and gross and whoa. And because Werewolf by Night is a werewolf, so it was a werewolf tale. It was only 4 issues long, but it sucked. It was kind of lame. It was just like a pretty lame, run of the mill werewolf story. And like half the fun of Werewolf by Night is that it's like a campy, silly in the Marvel universe, very Universal monstersy doing fun stuff. So when it's just like a bunch of like people getting like beheaded and like gored and stuff like that, you're kind of like, now I'm just reading a bad werewolf comic. Like it's barely even the character. It's like not even interesting at all. Uh, I don't know who came up with the idea to write a very serious story about a character named Jack Russell, but here we are. And don't worry, yes, of course, it's a Punisher. It's well, not Punisher Max, but it's a Max comic, and it's serious, so they have to explain the joke name is actually because he's Russian, and you're like, all right. And somebody named a fake name for Jack Russell, and you're like, okay. You really had to do that? You had to do that? I don't know if I've read any good Max comics other than Punisher Max. So Punisher Max has some pretty good runs, but they're fucking brutal and depressing and makes you miserable because they're written by Garth Ennis. But they are pretty good. So other than that, I don't think I've read any good Max comic. That's just kind of how it is. The Werewolf by Night Max literally ends with his like with the 2 issues of both his first appearance and then a random other time he fought Dracula, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to read this because I'm trying to finish because it's not the story and I don't need to read it. So, because I believe I've read those before. I'm pretty sure I have read the original, the first Werewolf by Night appearance and some of his other stuff, but if not, I have an omnibus where I want to read all of the old Werewolf by Night comics all in conjunction because like those are fun and silly and what I want, not a half-assed, gory, stupid werewolf story. But alas, so yes, this was the wasted weekend. I made it to 15. I actually probably read more last year when you think about it because I read a lot of novellas and comic books and I did not get near as many audiobooks done, which was like last year I got done tons of like full on books, but I still had a good time and I achieved my goals, as dumb as they are. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you again some other time. Remember, be trashy forever.